Welcome, everybody. Here we are on another episode of Your Next 50. And folks, ladies, we are here to tell you that it's your time. Be intentional with your choices. Don't waste even one more day hiding in your stories. You can reclaim your personal power and be happy while doing it. And this podcast will show you how. And I am still utterly inspired by that intro, Sylvia. I'm Jenny.
And I am Sylvia. Welcome to another episode. And Jenny, we've been talking about a few of our past episodes nonstop. We've done them and you've listened to them in great numbers. Thank you so much. They are called Guilt and Shame and Self-Judgment. And you know what? Today is an episode that I think it's the umbrella episode.
Yep.
And it really comes down to worthiness.
Yeah.
And I like what you did say. Jenny, if you were to get a tattoo, what do you think?
So we were talking, it's the ongoing theme in my house. If mom was to get a tattoo, my word might be worthy to put on my arm. And I'm actually going to sit with that one. All of you listening, everybody's going to get coming up to me saying, do it.
You could have two tennis rackets and then have worthy around them or something.
Yeah. But the statistics don't lie. Our downloads for the last 3-4 episodes have been through the floor, I guess, because they're downloads rather than uploads, right? If they were through the roof, they'd be uploads.
There you go.
But like you folks have jumped in on these topics. You want to hear about them. You want to hear more. So we are bringing you worthiness today. And I guess the inspiration for today was tied to a book where we talked about worthy as in a monetary worthiness. And so we're going to start there. Yeah,
what's the book? It's Nancy Levin's book called Worthy. Boost your self-worth to grow your net worth. And I was interested in this. It was another woman who introduced me to the book and said I should read it. And, working with women entrepreneurs, we all want to make more money. And a lot of them put all the systems in place, but that doesn't mean they're making the money that they desire. And Nancy Levin in this book, listen to this. It's the back cover. Money. We love it. We hate it. If we don't have enough, we're struggling to get more. If we do, we're fighting to hold on to it. Why does money have to be such a source of anxiety? And then she says, it all comes down to your self-worth.
Which we don't want to hear.
Which we don't want to hear at all. Oh my gosh. Who wants to hear that, you're not making enough money, the money that you want to be making because you don't love yourself?
Right. So to paraphrase, money issues are not money issues. They are self-worth issues.
Oh.
Ouch.
You got to sit with that one.
I know. Exactly.
And it's not about not having enough money either. It's not as your bank account is zero. It could be that you perhaps are codependent, or that you have a codependent partner and that you keep giving them all the money. It's or you manage your money.
You justify away why you don't have more money. There's so much that comes up around for me about how we deflect, we defer, we avoid, and money is a substitute. I mean, you can flip it the other way and say money is a substitute for worthiness too, where if I have X million dollars, then I will be something worthy of that.
Right.
But this is
very loaded, isn't it?
Isn't it?
We're not going to be talking because it's only a few minutes in and we're getting to the heart of it. But what Jenny and I have been talking about behind the scenes is that it's not just money issues.
That's right.
And I took a program a little while ago, and people are coming in for all sorts of reasons. Health reasons. They wanted to lose weight, or they wanted to get in shape, or illness happened, or they didn't have a good relationship with their spouse or their mother or their kids. And other people, it was business and whatnot. So these three main themes that we see all. And the coaches in there were saying, none of these issues are your real issues. They're all self-love issues, worthiness issues. And I was like, no, I don't have any worthiness issues. It's not worthiness issues for me. It's
I just need more money.
I just want to make more money in my business. Show me how. And months later, here I am going, you know what? I think they were right. holy moly, I did not want, and no one would like, everyone was like, no, 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 that's not it. That's
Yeah.
not it. That's not it. And
That's
then
the
some
kind of
people really
denial,
like it.
but
Yeah.
that's the kind of denial we have for ourselves, like how pre-programmed we are to protect ourselves, right? Because that's what this is really about, is going to those dark places, and the premise of this book in the paraphrase is, in order to truly deal with our money, now we're going to take a slant on this, Sylvia and I, but to truly deal with our money issues, we need to go deep within and explore not just our feelings about money, but also our feelings about ourselves. At heart, money issues are really issues of self-worth. And so as we got talking, our premise for this show is, let's go further. Let's talk about self-worth as the foundation. Self-love is the foundation for all those other external things, the job, the romance, the love, the children, the family, the life. Let's just add in happiness, that we can't really have any of those things unless we love and accept ourselves first.
Well, and I have this posted, Jenny, our favorite quote. I think that's the quote of our podcast episode. If I truly loved myself, what would I do? And let's break it down. I mean, we can talk about relationships,
Yeah.
right? If you are not in a loving relationship, or something, or it is a relationship that you want and it's not as loving as, as you'd like it to, or you don't have that partner, why, we delve into that. What would I, if I love myself, what would I do? Would I still be with this partner? Would I talk to them about the issues? Would I take action and start perhaps focusing on my life and building up my life without that person, right? I mean, all these thoughts come in,
Oh,
right?
I just went to marriage counseling, so let's just hold it there. But yeah, right? Like, so what
Yeah.
I'm thinking of is how we pick away at our own unworthiness. It becomes like a scab that we
Ugh.
pick at, and we remind ourselves of how unworthy we are by creating problems in our lives, by creating conflicts to stay in relationships, right? And that may or may not be there, but
Like
because,
jobs, like
right,
jobs,
but
like,
when we're feeling in lack, we just keep finding it everywhere.
well, we attract it, do we not? Is that not the universe's way of saying,
Yeah.
you got to learn this? I'm going to slap you over the head
Yeah.
again. You haven't learned this. I'm going to
Yeah.
keep giving this to you until you've learned the lesson.
So the hope or the wish or the bright side of this lack, and ironically, this is something I'm kind of exploring a little bit in the Underdog Leadership podcast, which is the
Mm.
overcoming part. And just a quick plug that I am starting a solo podcast, and we'll talk more about that. And there's going to be lots of
Yay.
overflow both ways. But the act of overcoming, so for that woman or man to choose that relationship no longer serves them, and to make a decision going forward on what they're going to do, that's where I get really interested as a coach, because I don't
Mm.
think anybody on this planet can say they don't have obstacles or challenges. And my language is underdog. And so how they overcome it and what they learn from it. So that journey to worthiness, I think, well, we're talking relationships, is really, really powerful. And no one can take that journey away from you. You either
Mm-mm.
sit and stay in the lack, or you choose. And that's why I think women that are in abusive relationships, when it's so intertwined, all the emotions, I
Oh,
mean,
so
who are,
empowering when they
oh,
decide to leave,
and
right?
you know what? And it takes time to leave. Like, I just want to
Mm.
say that on radio, I've worked with a lot of second step shelters, and it's not a straight line. It's not just get over it or decide. This worthiness issue will be there for a while. And maybe that's, that mental health line that you navigate back and forth. It'll always be part of my story. I just want to be humble here and say, I think I'll be working on my worthiness till the day I die, and I'm okay with that.
It comes down to personal it's a choice, not personal choice. I was going to say it comes
Yeah.
down to choosing ourselves.
Mm,
I choose me, right? Whether
mm,
that be that relationship, because I'm also
yeah.
thinking about the women I work with. I worked in business corporations, and people stay, I've perhaps stayed longer than I
Yep.
thought I would ever
Yep.
stay, even when I was not, you're not extremely happy, but, or in business, I recently released a business. That took me a long time
Mhm.
to choose me.
Yeah.
There were always tons of reasons not to, tons of reasons to stay or try and make it better or whatnot. And then finally, you get to that place,
Mhm.
perhaps like the women, leaving someone where you just can no longer be in that situation.
Mhm.
And so you make that change.
So we talked about relationships. Let's just sit here with jobs for a minute, where jobs, one of the manifestations of it is when you're really unhappy at work, is you start getting sick.
Well, you
Start
do,
getting
doesn't it?
ill,
The
right?
burnout rate is so high, Jenny. It's so high, the burnout rate.
Are you going to let yourself be treated that way? Are you going to
Mm.
let yourself endure that workload, that time frame, that whatever? So worthiness is also tied to boundaries, right? That if you can decide in that place that you're at, am I here? Am I choosing to stay, or I'm letting myself be complacent because I can't think of somewhere else to go, or it's too scary or hard, or all those other things, right?
Oh, yeah, and I've met a lot of people in that role,
Mhm.
in that place, and I
Mhm.
think you get comfy, right? And there's a certain point to, and not everyone is meant to go out on their own or perhaps go for those promotions or whatnot, but I think if you're unhappy, there needs to be a change, because that unhappiness will move into your personal life, will move into your health, right? And then that affects everybody around you. So I think we have a responsibility to look at our lives and then make those choices. And we all know, you are listening to this show. I know you know exactly where you're being called to make a different choice and to choose you. I know that.
I want to hear from listeners. I'd love to get an email around saying, it's sending it to us and saying, I choose X or I choose Y.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you have to change it tomorrow. It just means that it's on your radar, that it is something you are thinking about in your journey to worthiness. So relationships, jobs, let's go to health and physical fitness.
Mhm.
We had this great discussion earlier about different people and different styles
Yes.
of way we relate to exercise, right? So if I think about exercising for exercise sake, I'm like, nah, not really. But if I think about it in relation to wanting to do the things I want to do with my body, or feeling strong, or like one of my
Mhm.
weird funky clues and what I'm so proud about with my exercise is I can pick up the vacuum cleaner with my right hand, Sylvia, and I can walk up the stairs and my core holds the vacuum up.
Yay.
Yay
Yay,
me.
Jenny. But
So
as we age, this is important. This is
don't
important,
scare away the 30-year-old
and that
listener.
you have no
Stop.
that you have no
Stop that.
incontinence while you're doing it either. I mean, let's really really say that out loud.
We need a younger demographic. No. So yes, these things
But
will
it's
happen
true.
to you. It's so true.
But
And that,
other people don't do sport for that, you know?
yeah, true.
They might do it to look better, to feel
Sure.
attractive, but I mean, the strength comes with it.
Well,
I just look at my, I shared with you, Jenny, about my spouse. My spouse loves sports, and it's not sports, team sports, but
yeah.
training and running and outside volleyball. And he goes on these hikes and whatnot. And he's a Virgo and very, I always like, if you're watching me, I'm making a square with my hand, but
He's a rule follower.
very dedicated. And he doesn't, like that extra piece of chocolate, he doesn't need it. That
Yeah.
extra drink, he's like, no, it's Wednesday and I want a gin and tonic. And he's like, but it's Wednesday. And I'm like, yeah, so. But we laugh about that. And I'm sure he won't
Yeah.
mind me laughing about it online.
Yeah.
But that's just the way he is.
Yeah.
And I'm not like that. I'm not
Yeah.
like, so I like you. I need other way, different reasons to work
Yeah.
out.
Come on, I'm the cross country skier that's talking about when we get to the hut. Like, what do you mean we're skiing with no hut? Right? It's all about the hut and the warmth and the camaraderie and the wine and the
And the
chocolate.
drinks afterwards. Yes.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so, how this ties into worthiness is this idea that we exercise because it makes us feel good. Maybe not even with a destination, but I'm, like you've said, I'm the kind of person that likes feeling strong, and
Mhm.
I'm worthy of that time with myself to exercise. I'm not saying I love it every time, and there's a bunch of times where I just roll out and kind of hop on and whatnot. But the difference is, in the old days, I used to, when I missed one, I would beat myself up about it. And
Right.
now I'm in
Right.
this place where I'm like, oh, well, I missed it. What I really need is stretching. So I'll just do a 10-minute stretch, or I'll follow away. I'm
Go
much
for a
better.
walk or
Yeah.
something. Yep.
But I'm going to own on radio that I'm much better when I just follow along. because it quiets my brain. If I'm left to my own devices, I will never be someone that works out on their own. And the pre-programmed videos will never work for me because I'll
Yeah,
always find an excuse,
and see,
right?
I really have learned to enjoy those, and I do
Yeah,
them at when the kids,
yeah,
leave, and
yeah,
I don't know if I've shared that story, and I might have, but the reason I started working out is that my husband had already been doing it for a while, but then my young daughter, she might have been 5 at the time, she's 12 now, and she was having this candid conversation with me, and then she goes, "Yeah, only daddies work out, and only daddies are strong. Mommy's not strong." And I'm like, "Mommy doesn't work out," she said, and I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, stop. No, stop the train. Like, no, no, no." And from since that day
yeah.
on, I'm like, we have a thing at the table, at the dinner table,
Mhm.
where we show our biceps, and the kids as well. And it's just a fun thing, show us your biceps, mom. And I'm like, yes, here we go.
That's amazing.
But really, there it goes back to that why, and that love for myself, and to be strong, and to work towards older age. I
Yeah,
want to be healthy for my
yeah,
family, for myself. The
yeah.
more I work out too, the better I am at my work. The more
Also,
stamina I have. I don't get
precisely.
so tired. I eat better, right?
Yeah, it's a
Mm.
cyclical up or a cyclical down, right? It's that same idea. So, so women abdicate sometimes, right? So we
Mm.
talk about that, and I think also feeling worthy allows us to receive, to give and
Yes.
receive, that there's a kinetic energy attached. And when you're in lack, or when you're feeling poor me or that victim, it's very hard to be generous with anyone, including
Mm.
yourself. And so another phrase she has in the book that really hit me between the eyes was, we give up a lot in
Oh,
exchange for handing over the purse strings. We put ourselves in the position of playing the victim at the mercy of someone else's decision. So giving up our sovereignty as
right.
it's tied to money, and that lands squarely between my eyes.
Well, we've
Yeah.
talked about that so often, right? I mean, 50% of women do not control their own money, right? And that for different reasons, right? The
Yeah.
knowledge piece we've talked about before, the time piece, the mental load when you're running a household and have small kids and working, you just kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, you're better than that.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
there is that it's our livelihood, it's
Yeah.
our life, are we're giving that away to someone. There's another great book, and you'll listen. That we've got a book list coming out with
We do.
Jenny and my favorite books, and this one's on the list. And there's another one that I put on there called "The Power of Receiving." And
Mm,
the point that you made is so good,
mhm.
because women have been taught from a young age that we are human givers. We give to everybody else, and we're the last on the list.
Mhm.
And it's funny because my daughter, the same one, she's growing, she's 12 now, but she's noticed a pattern that I have is around the table. I will often serve myself last, right? Just because I'm serving everybody else. And whatever piece of meat, whatever piece of fish, or whatever is left, it might not be as big as everybody else's. And I'm honestly totally fine with that. And but she's noticed, and then she's like, "Here, mom, here's half of mine. You don't have enough." And I'm like, "Ah, what message am I giving to her? That I
Completely.
am not worthy of a full piece of salmon?"
Yeah. And then we're mad because nobody else notices that we didn't get a full piece of salmon. Like it's a self-perpetuating cycle, right? Versus like choosing the nicest piece of salmon and trusting that everyone else will figure out and get their own food. There's so much we could do a whole episode on that whole
Well,
little
it's just those
microcosm.
lessons, right?
Right.
I was like, I have to have a chat with her about this, right? Because I don't want her to, I don't know, what is she internalizing?
Right.
Right?
So I want to go to the listeners, like what's coming up for you as far
Mm,
as like, do you believe, and you don't have to answer us because you're not here in the studio, that you are worthy? Do you
mm,
believe in your heart of hearts, or is there a niggle there? And if there's a niggle, what does the niggle desire or need from you? Because, again, we're so good at acknowledging everybody else, but acknowledging our needs and what we need in order to feel fulfilled. And those excuses and that self sabotage and self protection, it has a cost.
it does. Yeah. And also, and Jenny, you might, let me know if this is true for you. I feel worthy in many parts of my life. So we're not unworthy. I don't think we feel that. I do not feel, let me just personalize it. I do
Mhm.
not feel unworthy in all parts of my life.
Mm.
I feel perhaps unworthy in one area of my life that comes up, right? It's whatever those niggles are. It's
Well, I
and
mean,
and
let's
you, if you're listening, that might be for you as well. It might be your health. It might
mm,
be your job. It might be
mhm.
your business. It might be your financial situation.
You know what's funny? What's okay, so there's a couple things. The one thing that's coming up for me is that I've been pretty open about how I'm taking a women's investing course, and
Mhm.
the very first module was all about mindset and how I had to change my mindset of my relationship with investing, especially the stock market. And it's funny because again, on that courage and that challenge thing about overcoming, I am so damn proud of myself for learning. Like, I don't even need to be
Mhm.
good at it. I just need to know that I'm showing up. And I think I have something in my mantra that says, like, I'm really proud of myself for choosing this path and this particular learning for me. It's also that I'm normally the person teaching, so it's really fun to be in
Yeah.
a class learning. And I'm definitely a lifelong learner and all those things. And I remember I said to the women's group I was with, I said, "This is my me time." And one of the ladies picked up on it, speaking of worthiness, and she said, "I really like the way you framed the planning part of finances as your me time." And she said, "I'm going to take that and work with it."
Yeah.
Versus, "Oh God, that's that
I
thing with numbers that
have
I
to do
have
with
to do."
it, right?
Right? Um,
Yeah.
so the excitement you can attach, and so being,
Well, the growth mindset, right? I mean, Jenny,
yeah,
you are a lifelong learner. That is
yeah,
your number one value. It might
it
not
is,
be everybody else's. So if
yeah,
they have to, if they feel that
yeah,
they have to do this, then, and I think people in corporations too, or anywhere, they sign up to a course or they have to take a course and they have to, right? That
right,
language piece.
yeah,
But I love that reframe that you're saying,
yeah,
I get to do this. I want to do this. You've been talking about investing for
I know,
years that I've
I
known
have,
you. And then now, rather than hiding, that you say, well, you know what? I'm just going to take a course. And you've been
yeah,
sending me these little
I
snippets.
know,
McGill universities had webinars and all these different things, and we've been learning together. And
yeah, yeah,
so that's wonderful. I
yeah,
applaud you. Applaud
yeah,
you.
thank you.
Because you listened to yourself. Your soul was wanting you to do this. Otherwise,
Mhm.
those niggles wouldn't have come up all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Money is it's such a funny one, right? It's got so many pieces. This sense of worthiness, this sense of another way to put it is just reminding yourself that you are probably your best friend. Like, I
Mm.
like you. This sounds so hokey. I'm sorry, but I like the way you said that. Like, rather than, oh my God, you said that. Like, we all have that voice. That's Dolores, or I forget the
Yeah.
name of your gal,
Yeah,
your
mine's
critic.
Dolores, yours is Phyllis.
Phyllis, of course,
Phyllis.
silly. Phyllis
Yeah.
with the glasses. So, like, I like you. I think you're someone I'd like to spend time with. We talked about that, being in relationship with yourself and getting to know yourself at our ages is such a new experience because we've gone through all
Mm.
these changes. We're not the same people we were when we birthed babies the first time round or whatever. And so our interests and our passions change. There's lots of things for us to explore, and we are worthy of exploring them. That's the other part, right?
I
Same.
started a weekly Wednesday. It's called
I
Wednesday
love.
Worthiness or Worthiness Wednesdays, and I just pop into your email every Wednesday. I might have missed a couple Wednesdays. I was busy, but and that's okay.
How do they how do they get on that? Because I get that and I love it. It's just a little burst of inspiration.
Yeah, I got to put you on my list. Well, not you, but whoever would like to be on my list. You send me an email. I'll add the email. I can put the link out there. But yeah, and that every week, there's these little pop-ups like you are
Mhm,
worthy because you are here. Right? There's a
mhm,
little story about that. I share stories like the
mhm,
purse. There was one, my second worthiness piece was about a purse.
mhm.
And I was shopping online for something and this purse came up and there was one about $285,000 US. And I said, "How much worthiness would you need to
Wow.
buy that purse?"
Right. Right.
But anyway, it was, though it's such an interesting topic though.
It's such an interesting topic, and it's nobody can do it for you. It only comes from you
Yeah.
within. And it's really not in the end about money, because you talk
No.
about 285,000
Yeah.
and percentage-wise of whatever income,
Yep.
right? It's
Whatever.
it's the
Yes.
same, but it's believing you're worthy. It's wanting to step up and own your space to be worthy. If not now, when? That's one of our phrases, right, on this
Yeah.
show is,
Yeah, yeah.
you
If
know?
if not now, when? And I wrote some words here. I said, we are worthy of success. We're
Mhm.
worthy of having the money we desire. We're worthy of having the businesses we want, of the lives we desire, of being happy, of having that relationship, of having strong friendships, of taking time for ourselves.
We're worthy of a good night's sleep.
Yes, and a good stiff drink at the end of the week if that's what you desire, right? And
Yeah.
of taking care of ourselves and putting ourselves first. And there's a
Mm,
lot of talk on the web about this. Anyway, in my circles there are, but it's something that I believe we do need reminding of, because patterns
yeah,
we fall back into those patterns of giving
yeah,
and self-sabotage. They come, and at every level. You think you've gotten it, we'll attack one thing, Jenny, or
yeah.
we'll get that piece, and then oh, it just comes up in another one, because as we up level, there's
Mhm.
always something else we're gonna, be faced with. New
It's like
challenges.
it's like we can believe it in our brains, in our heads. I'm pointing to my head, but actually, and that's what Kyla, my breath coach, talks about, is
Mm,
assimilating it into your body, into your
yeah.
heart, into your being. That's just how it feels for you. And that knowing
Mm.
versus thinking. I think all esoterically, we all think, yeah, of course I'm worthy, right? Like almost off the cuff.
Well, that's a left brain thing, right?
Mhm,
Yeah, of course I'm worthy. Like me
mhm,
for that whole course I took. Yeah, I'm worthy. What am I? Like, I don't have to worry about worthiness issues.
right.
But once we work on those worthiness issues, we find that everything else falls into place.
So the resistance comes from the unworthiness, that the
Yeah. Oh.
universe wants to give you things and you are resisting receiving them because of your unworthiness. Ooh. Are you writing that down? Are you like
I am
Jenny?
writing. That's gonna be an Instagram, one of our Instagram quotes there. Resistance, because I always forget them
I
afterwards,
know,
and then I have to listen to the episode after.
I know.
Like, I have
I
other
can't
things,
tell you what I
other
just said.
people to listen. Resistance comes from the unworthiness. There we
Yeah.
go. That's how it
And
is.
when it feels hard, it's because you're not letting it in.
Well, yes, and I agree, and I share my story. It took me a while, a
Mhm,
long time
mhm,
for me to release my
mhm.
business, and I thought I would be. I did not think that was a worthiness piece
Right.
until someone, that I work
Yeah,
with said, "It is a worthiness piece.
yeah.
When are you going to choose you?" And I said,
Mhm.
and she goes, "When are you going to do this?" And I said, okay, I'll do it by the end of the year." And then she said, "How about Monday? How about you choose you on Monday?" And you know what?
What?
It was like as if she gave me permission
Yeah.
to choose myself, and not thinking that this was a failure or whatnot. It's just transition, it's change, you're up leveling, your soul is wanting, is wanting me to do other things. And I didn't realize what an impact that would
Right.
have. And I thought the next day I'd be going on to the
Mhm.
next thing, and full of energy. And no,
Yeah.
there was, like you said, Kyla, we have an
Mhm.
episode with Jenny's breath worker coming out, and it is, we have to integrate
Yeah.
and become that new person.
Mhm.
And it's not always, this is the path is not easy.
No.
It's not always easy. Sometimes it is easy to make decisions, and sometimes that we make them, that, on the
But
spot.
we call it on the spot, but how
But
long
they
have we
how
been
long,
thinking about
yeah,
it? Come on.
exactly,
And the
exactly.
the visual I'm seeing is like the grasp on our unworthiness is so freaking tight.
Mm,
We hold on to it like a badge of honor, and so, like, unplucking the fingers out of the unworthiness to allow the abundance and the worthiness to come in. I'm
mm.
getting very, like,
We're getting,
heady and trippy here, but, like, releasing it, and those all those words are intentional that I'm using. It's like there's a reason the guy was called Scrooge, right? Because he was holding on so tight. Scrooge, it's
mm.
such a great onomatopoeia. Wow, where did that come from?
So I think
We need to
our
finish? Yes,
intuition,
because I
yeah,
just said onomatopoeia at the end of an
there you
episode,
go.
Sylvia.
the invitation that we have for you is when, look at your life. We're always about step one is awareness.
Mhm.
Where are those niggles? And rather than trying to find a plan of action, how can you relate that to worthiness?
Mm.
See what bubbles up there. And I think that there will be some bubbles
And
because
for
it's
those of
not something we'll want to be doing, right? We're just going to move on to the next thing. We're not going to want to sit in silence. We're just going to, no, 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 I don't have worthiness issues. But I invite you to look at them and see, if they were worthiness issues.
if there you go.
Yes.
If they were worthiness issues.
How would they manifest? Jenny, always a pleasure talking with you and
Mm,
chatting with you.
mm.
We've got more of these episodes
I
coming
know.
up.
I was just thinking we celebrated our 2-year anniversary and we didn't do any fanfare or
We did
anything.
not celebrate.
But we celebrated our 2-year anniversary. Just a shout out to all of you that are with us on this journey, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. We appreciate your ears. We appreciate your hearts. We appreciate your comments.
And
We
the
appreciate,
thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads,
yeah,
literally
yeah.
thousands.
We
We're
just needed
so
to talk
so
about
honored.
really icky stuff, Sylvia. That's all. Who knew? We just needed to get more downloads. You talk about self-worth and self-judgment and blame and
Well,
shame.
would you like maybe next week we could do how to be productive? That just doesn't sit
No,
well.
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work for us. It does
No.
for other people, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I will. I say you'll never get an episode on productivity, but you never know. Who knows?
Well, I mean, if you solve all those get that flow going from removing those barriers, imagine what you could accomplish. Just saying, right? But
Yes.
more importantly, not only accomplishment, but actually be happier while doing it, which
Mhm.
I always add and be happier. Because, like, what's the point
Key
if you don't
if
enjoy
you're
it
not
and if you don't
happy.
have fun? So here we go. That's the end of our funnest half hour of the week. Thanks, everybody. Please do share this with someone if you
There,
had a good giggle. And you wanted to make sure a friend heard from us, and we really appreciate you. And you are worthy.
you are. Thank you so much. There will be a link on the show notes to sign up and get our top 10 books, favorite
Woohoo!
books. Put them on your list. We'll catch you next week.
Bye.